Have you ever felt overwhelmed by a flood of ideas only to find them slipping away because you couldn't capture them quickly enough? Or maybe you found yourself stuck in the content creation process because you're not sure how to transform your thoughts into engaging content. If that sounds familiar, then this video is for you because in this video, we're going to dive into how you can harness the power of mem not only to capture your ideas as they come, but also to streamline your content creation process. We'll explore how mem can help you navigate your creative landscape with ease and turn everyday thoughts into compelling content. So, if you're ready to supercharge your creative productivity and push your projects to completion faster than ever before, then this video is for you. Now, let's get to the tutorial. What I want to do in this video is I want to show you how mem simplifies idea management and content creation. So, if you're a content creator of any kind and you want to be able to easily keep track of your ideas and move pieces of finished work forward faster, a lot of the things I show you here are going to show you exactly how to do that. So the first step is going to be creating the main mem for the piece of content that you want to create. And in this case, you can see here, I've already added a link to the time management article. And so we're just going to go ahead and put in time management article here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the idea of an article about time management for content creators. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use mem's smart write and edit feature to write an outline for this article. So the first thing I want to do is paste this here. Now you have a couple of different ways this could be done. So I'm going to get rid of the introduction thing here. And instead of brief, I'm going to say a 5-header outline. One of the key things with any AI tool is specificity. And the more specific you are with your prompts or your descriptions of what you want the AI to do, the better the results are going to be. And I'm just going to say 5-header outline with bullets for the article on time management for content creators. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paste that as a command. And what you'll see here now is that it will generate a very basic outline for us. So you can see here that it's given us a bunch of different things right here. So just for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to go ahead and do all of this. Now, the great thing about mem is that even though it's given us all of this right here, once we actually start working within this article, you can see here that any notes that I have inside of mem, even ones with nothing in them, actually end up in here. So you can see here that there are a bunch of different notes on time management. So the cool thing about this is that we can actually start to bring in all of these different links. And so I'm just going to grab a few different notes. You can see here I have another one from a book called Uptime, as well as Time Block Server's Guide. So let's go ahead and look at what this note is. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring in all of these different notes. And I'm just going to grab anything that I can find that is related to time management. And so you can see here that I'm gradually adding different links of notes that I already have inside of mem that I can then use inside of this article. Now, the great thing here is that it's given us this really great overview. And the nice thing about having this kind of overview is we don't have to work on the article in the order that it's organized. That's probably one of the greatest things about mem that a lot of other tools don't offer, in that it basically allows us to work non-linearly. So it's given us a bunch of bullets. Now, let's say that we wanted to just write each of these notes whenever we had an idea. Well, what we could do is, in addition to adding all the things that I've added here, one of the things we could do is we could actually create another mem here, and we could actually turn everything here into a mem of its own. So that way we can work on it whenever we see fit. So maybe what we'll do here is create mems for all the things that are the headers. And again, if we wanted to, we could go into each one of these and turn it into an outline or a brief synopsis. And we can basically go through and use different case studies. You can see here that it even gives us some time management strategies. All of this is really basic, but depending on the amount of information you have in mem, the better all this output is going to be. The other thing that happens is as you start to fill out different notes and they have more and more content in them, one of the things that ends up happening is that you will start to get better and better suggested notes here. And as you can see here, there are a lot of notes here that actually have nothing in them because they're ideas that I just captured while I was working on something else. So that's another great thing here is that if you wanted to, what you could do is you could just capture different ideas, or even if you are writing something and one sentence within that thing you're writing or one phrase within that sentence seems like something that could be turned into another note, then you can do that. So there are a couple of other things that I have in here. And you can see here that I have a couple of different notes related to tasks, time management, prioritization, whatever it might be. And I can actually bring in all of that stuff into this article. Now, one other thing that we can do is we can actually use collections so that we don't have to always remember to link things to this particular note. And that's probably something you've seen me talk about in other videos as well. And that's one of the beauties of using something like Mem and using collections, is that you might not remember that this is going to be related to this time management article. So what we're going to do to solve that problem is we're going to create what's called a collection. And collections are basically just tags. So we're just going to call this time management series. And you can see here that based on the title of the collection, it might recommend certain notes. And most of these are kind of not relevant except this one right here. But what we can do is we could search for anything related to time management. So you can see here 4 quadrants of time management skills and ADHD. And you can see that I have this time management interview collection. So I'm going to go ahead and add that as well. Now, the cool thing about this is, since this is related to our time management series, let's say that you have a idea that occurs to you just randomly and you just say, okay, make time for things that matter, reduce time for things that don't. And you can even have Smart Write and Edit write 2 sentences for you. Sometimes that's actually really helpful in terms of just getting you going. So that way you leverage the benefits of AI without becoming overly dependent on it. Often one of the things that I found is that just by starting with a quote, you're able to kind of trigger your mind to start coming up with ideas and related ideas. And so it becomes a lot easier. And so it doesn't feel as daunting because you're not just working with a blank page. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to add this to our time management series collection. So if we go here, you can see here that it also recommends a couple of other things. So we'll just go ahead and add this demo outline here. And you can see here that we've already gone through a couple of different things. We've organized this with collection. We've added a bunch of different mems. Now, if we wanted to, we can go back to this main mem and we can start to pull in different notes from various sources and just bring them all in together and see what happens if we wanted to basically take this all and turn it into an article. So some of this is going to be relevant, some of it is not. So you can see here that prioritization, urgent versus important. So I know that I have a couple of things that are related to this. So I'm going to say, prioritize efforts with a disproportionate impact. And since we have both of these in here, which are my notes from the ideas in Scott Belsky's book, which is called Making Ideas Happen, what we're going to do is we're just going to take this part right here and we're going to actually bring it together and call this our section on prioritization. And so if we wanted to, we could use Mem, Smart Write, and Edit to just turn those into notes into a section here. But instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to bring it in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, take all of this and turn it into a section on prioritization and condense it into 2 paragraphs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take something that I've already written. That's the beautiful part about this, is that even when you're using AI, you are actually going to be having it modify something that you have already written. So I'm going to basically say, condense this into 2 paragraphs about prioritization. And so as you can see, in a matter of about 10 minutes, we're basically laying the foundation for an entire article here. And some of this is not going to be perfect, but one of the good things about this is that you're going to spend more time editing and really polishing up your content So that way, when you're coming up with ideas, you can just focus on the writing and the creative part of that and not necessarily get caught up in silly things like, okay, does this fit here? Does this fit there? Because you can just go through ideas as they occur to you. And whenever you have an idea, you can either add it to the collection, which is our time management series here. And so, for example, if you are just randomly working on something else and a thought occurs to you, you can literally just say, you know what, I'm going to create something on time management. Let's just do this right now. We're going to say how content creators can best manage their time. And I'm just going to give it 2 sentences so we have something to work with. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add that note right here to our collection for the time management series once SmartWrite gives us something. So you can see here, basically what it's doing is it's giving you sort of this content creation schedule. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add it to our time management series collection. So now if we open the collection, everything that is part of that collection is right there. And sometimes it'll take a second or two to index. You can see here that the content creation for or how content creators should manage their time is not here yet. But what we can do is we can actually do a search. And that's the beautiful thing about collections is that they can be updated whenever you need to. They are dynamic and you can move notes between collections. And this really kind of goes back to one of the core ideas of a concept from Tiago Forte's book, which is Building a Second Brain, where he talks about organizing by action instead of by topic. And that's one of the nice things about collections. So you can see here, good content is a collection of existing ideas and notes, which is funny because that's what this video is all about, even though there's nothing in that note. But now, because I'm going through the process of working on this, I now know how to complete that note, and I can probably write something there. So let's go back to our demonstration here. You can see here that we have gone through a couple of different steps. Now, if this seems kind of nonlinear and a bit all over the place, that's kind of because it is. And that's one of the things I think is very hard for people to get used to when they first start working with MEM, because they're so used to doing things in a linear order. But once they understand how to work this way and they experience the freedom of working this way, you'll actually start to see not only does it free you up to be more creative, it's actually much faster and much more effective. And you don't get stuck with something like writer's block when you're wondering, what do I do next? Or, how do I start? I don't know where to start. You can just start with really small sections and small ideas and then bring them all back together. So in a lot of ways, it's a bit like you're creating puzzle pieces, and then you are going to take those puzzle pieces and put them back in any order you want. And the great thing is that even if you use them in one piece of content, you're still going to be able to use them again for something else. That's the real beauty of a system like this, is that when you limit yourself to just one concept per note, then you're able to take each individual note and treat it sort of as a building block. You can kind of think of it as digital Legos. And then finally, this last piece is completely optional. But if you wanted to, we could actually have a list of tasks to publish the content. And what I'll do is I'll just say, generate task list to complete finished content. And so we can even use SmartWrite and Edit to help us in the process of planning out this piece of content. So in a lot of ways, this really simplifies idea management and content creation. It kind of gives you the freedom to capture ideas as they occur, revisit them whenever you're ready, and kind of work at a much slower pace that is much more reasonable. So you can see here, this gave us a really detailed task list, but let's just say we wanted to condense this task list. We're going to say, okay, let's condense this so it's just the list tasks. I'm going to say, assume the article is finished and give me just the publication task. And so now you can see here, it gives us something a bit more simple. So I'm going to go ahead and replace it with that. And even though they're bullets here, we can actually turn them into markdown task bullets. So just to recap, the first thing you're going to want to do is to create your main mem for a piece of content you want to create. Then optionally, you can write an outline or just a few sentences. The next thing you're going to want to do is add links, and you can work from within that one note and do the entire article from there without ever leaving that article note, just by using bidirectional links. But because of the fact that we're always working on lots of different things, that's not always going to be the most efficient way. And that's where you use collections. So that way, anytime you have an idea for something related to whatever piece of content you're working on, you can then just add it to the collection. And then finally, once it's all done, once it's all organized, you can actually use Mem's AI feature, Smart Write and Edit, to put it all together in a way that is much more coherent. So that's the beauty of all this. It allows you to kind of work at your own pace, work non-linearly, and use bidirectional links. And basically, even small pieces of work or small pieces of content actually end up being invaluable. So that way you don't have to sit down and attempt to do this thing all in one sort of crazy burst, which isn't realistic for a lot of people. So as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below.